Well, the Raptors preseason is here as they kicked it off against the Utah Jazz with a win, 114-82. You are watching Raptors Today. We're back. Paul Jones, Sherman Hamilton. Yeah, let's go. Team on three, for real. But I'm happy to be back with you guys. It's been a great offseason. Lots of golf, right?
Lots of golf, but it's time to chase for the guys to chase a trophy now.
Absolutely, and it all started with training camp, Jonsey. So walk us through what you saw in training camp and then how that translated to the game that we saw. Well,
look, training camps are such that it's the best time of the year because everybody's healthy. There's optimism abound. And it's a learning time. And when you look at what the Raptors have been able to do, Nick Nurse talked about it. Last year at this point, everything was new. It was the first year without Kyle Lowry. Scotty Barnes was a rookie. He was brand new. They just received Precious Achiuwa in the trade. The guys didn't really know each other. Fred was kind of taking over as the leader. This year they were starting from a much better place. And as I said, optimism, high energy and enthusiasm abound at training camp. When I sat in at practice, boy, Nick Nurse had, and all his assistants, high energy, high intensity practices. There's organic development going on. Guys have been together all summer learning each other, and they continue to do that. And then you have the new guys coming in who haven't been there all summer, who are trying to make the back end of the roster, trying to hang on for a spot. Training camp was great. And you can't get fooled by training camp because it's kind of like MMA or boxing. You look good hitting the bag, but the bag doesn't hit back because everybody can say, oh, we look good in training camp. But I really think this team could surprise people this year. The vibe at training camp was terrific.
We love good vibes. Sherm, we got to talk about what happened as well. You mentioned it a little bit, but like in the game itself, because Nick Nurse really emphasized points in the paint. Yeah. And that's something that we did see in that first game against Utah, which, by the way, packed house in Edmonton. Yeah. Shout out to Edmonton, Alberta. You guys did it right, man. You guys came through. But what did you make of it?
Well, Nick Nurse is right, first of all. You want to get the ball into the paint. And in the past, they used to have post players where you dump the ball in there, and then it condense the defense, grab the double teams, they kick it out to the three-point line. Well, now, Nick is saying we want to shoot those threes, and you understand the climate in the NBA, but he's also saying that we still need that paint punch. We need that ball to penetrate the lane, make sure it gets in there, and have that defense shift, have that defense condense and contract, and now you're going to get better looks on the three-point line. You could see that in that game against Utah Jazz. We're not trying to make anything out of that game beyond what it was, which is the first preseason game. Utah is a very different team. But if you're the Raptors, you're trying to build on things. You're trying to figure out ways to be more aggressive. You're trying to figure out ways to be very, very disciplined in your approach. And what we saw was their ability to get the ball into the paint off the dribble, off the pass, and then open up the three-point line. That, to me, creates a better balanced approach. It creates that defensive shift that you need to get good ball movement. And overall, everybody stays involved. Body movement and ball movement are keys to this offense. How do you do that? You penetrate, you push it into the paint, you make things happen, and all of a sudden, guys are getting clean looks on the three-point line.
They're playing their own brand of basketball. They're playing Raptors basketball. We know it defensively, but I think we're seeing it translate offensively already this early in the season. So we're going to take a listen now to head coach Nick Nurse.
You talked about it as being a middle of the roster kind of game. What did you see from the middle of the roster, I guess?
Yeah, I think it was a good kind of round out to a week of training camp, just from a standpoint of getting a chance to see those guys, but just also getting, a lot of the things we emphasized done today, right? There was, I thought, really good length, a lot of deflections, a lot of challenges at the rim, changing shots, good rebounding, even perimeter shot contests were pretty good. So yeah, I mean, and you're right. We did get to see a ton of the middle of the roster, which was good. I think it was helpful.
You talked about Koloko before the game. What kind of guy is he? Seems to fit in really well.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's kind of everybody's first look at him, but that's kind of what we've seen. He's making some plays. Doesn't really make a lot of mistakes. He's a good screener, really good feet on the perimeter. As you saw, he switches out a lot and didn't can move his feet side to side. Has a good understanding of what he's doing, and one of the things that I like about him, Doug, is he's got a pretty good engine for work each day, right? And it's really important. I know I say that a lot, man. Not everybody has that capacity to work as hard, and he does. So, and if you have that, that almost always equals getting better quickly. And so there's some positives there with him for sure.
The Duval basket, his first basket as a pro, Pascal, must have been a pretty good moment for all of Cameroon.
Yeah, that is pretty good. Both those guys have a kind of unique, I think, passion for the game, right? And I think it's pretty cool that Pascal found him to start his career.
You lost the possession battle. You must be just beside yourself about that, I assume. No. Kem looked a bit, he looked pretty good, I thought, for his first action. What did you see out of him in that second half?
Yeah, I was really happy. It was one of the first things I said to the staff in the locker room was Kem went out there with some energy and some fight. And it's been a long time since he's played. He missed a lot of time last year. He didn't play at all this summer. They held him out all the way to training camp. So you just don't know. But I thought he came out with hey, listen, I'm here to fight for some minutes too. And it's good. I think again, you can, if they go out there and expend as much energy as they can in 5 to 6 minute stints like that, they're going to be productive. That's a big bonus for us.
You just heard from head coach Nick Nurse. Now this is the part where we turn the show into a game show, guys. So we're gonna do some hot takes.
Wait, how much time do I have?
Oh,
How much time do I have? Is there going to be a little buzzer? Bip, 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 or an
technically
X?
23 minutes and 50 seconds to be exact. But Sherm, I'm gonna start with you because Josie's gonna take too long. Your hot take is obviously start the parade, right?
Well, no.
Okay.
Nice try, though.
It's only one game, but what's your answer?
Well, I'd say it's only one game, but I like the level of intensity on the defensive end and the attention to detail. I get it. It's the first preseason game. That Utah Jazz team, as I mentioned, is not what they used to be. But understand that you're trying to build the tenets of good defensive principles and build it off of last season. They were a good defensive team. They were an active defensive team, great in the passing lanes with deflections. We could see that they were really locked in on that side. And one of the things, you don't look at the stats, just look at it. Nick Nurse wants everybody back there with their hands out, understanding that they're creating length, creating difficulties for passing angles. And when it starts with Fred at the point and everybody else has their hands out, that shows me that they're locked in on the defensive end, they're being consistent, and they're understanding that they have to be that way from the jump. One possession early in the game where Fred locked into Colin Sexton and really forced him to turn the ball over. Those are the type of things you want to see early. Yes, it's one possession, but establishing those principles which they're working on in training camp, you want to see it translate as early as possible. And you always want your defense to be ahead of your offense, and that was a good sign for the Raptors.
Absolutely. All right, Jonesy, this is your time to shine.
Okay.
It's only one game, but...
It's only one game, but this team is very, very deep. And, you talk about the starters, and then look at the second half when the starters barely played. To jump on what Sherm said about the defensive intensity, they held Utah to 33 points in the second half. Yes, I know Utah was playing their bench as well. They're a very different team. But to cut them from 49 to 33 in the second half, and then it was the guys, as I said, kind of like in training camp, fighting at the back end of the roster, or guys that are fighting for time in Nick Nurse's eyes. Take the starting five out of the mix. When you look at Otto Porter Jr., who didn't play, Thad Young, who was fighting a bit of a knee issue. There's two vets. Then you look at Chris Boucher, Precious Achiuwa, all of the guys that they can throw in there, the length, the athleticism, and that's the second unit. I mean, Kem Birch, there's so many guys, Juancho Hernan-Gomez, you just go down the list, more and more people. Nick Nurse is going to have some decisions to make, and to Sherm's point about the intensity, it's not going to be easy with everybody fighting for spots and trying to play that well to impress him. Anybody that gets cut on this team, you can be sure that their phones are going to be ringing very quickly when it's all said and done come regular season?
Oh, everybody had a great game. I think the standout player for me was Gabe Brown as well, right? He just came out there, immediately had an impact on the court, and he was playing his minutes towards the end of the game, but that's actually where they got a high point differential as well. But if you guys are going to ask me the same question.
It's only one game, but.
Pop the champagne, all these. No, I'm kidding. No. It's only one game, but the Raptors are picking up where they left off at the end of last season. And you could tell that the work that they put into the offseason with the Rico Hines runs, with Malachi, getting his reps up, and everybody really just, contributing in their own individual ways, coming together as a collective, and you're seeing it execute. But now we're going to hear from Chris Boucher.
Was the atmosphere that good?
I mean, it just shows the support that we have, playing in Canada and all that. I mean, if you look outside, the fans are supporting us wherever we play. So it definitely made the environment better, obviously. But it's still a preseason game. There's still stuff that we got to fix and stuff. But the fans are definitely helping it out to make it feel like it's a real game.
Christian Koloko out there, so blocking shots, running around, getting tipped. A lot like you were as a young player.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see in him?
He's great. To be honest with you, Jimbo told me that I gotta, stay close to him and tell him what I've been doing to be successful. So he got the same intangible. So it's really good to be around and see him doing it at the early age. He's really long. He can move his feet and all that. So seeing him doing it at this level, first game, he still looked good. Looked good in intra scrimmage. I think it's really good to see, and he has a lot of potential.
Seems to be a guy like you who soaks up information.
Yep.
He's willingly coached.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's like a sponge. Like I said, I've never seen him not listen to one advice that we give him, or having his head down. He seems like always receptive and ready to listen to what we have to say. So it's really good to see, and usually players like that really learn a lot from the vets and from the game.
Chris, you've got a whole training camp now, and now finally a game under your belt. Do you have a feel for what this team can become?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, we have a lot of guys coming back. I think like 13 guys, so it's a lot easier to start the season knowing what everybody could do and what I have to bring to the game. Clearly, you can see the starters are having a little chemistry, so we're trying to do that with the couple of new guys that we brought. But as a team, I think we're really looking good, and we all know what we got to bring to the team to, like a little piece to win the games.
You just heard from Chris Boucher. Now we want to hear from you, so leave your comment down below. It's only one game, but give us your hot take or realistic take. Now we're going to hear from Fred VanVleet for his comments after that Utah Jazz game.
As a guy who watched a lot of or as much of this game as most of us now, what was your takeaway? What do you learn about your team in a game like this?
Nothing. But I think they're going to do that the whole time. But nothing. I mean, listen, it was a good practice. Guys flying around. I'm not going to try to grade it by any stretch. It was a lot of breakdowns, a lot of mistakes. But, it's to be expected. But I thought we played with great energy, and we played together. We had fun, and we played hard. So that's all you can ask for right now. We try to clean up some of the stuff we need and build our system and our foundation for the year. But I thought the guys, played hard tonight.
And what do you make of Koloko so far?
I like him. Again, he really knows how to play. He's good on his feet. He's got a little touch down there. He'll continue to get stronger and learn, the NBA game and the physicality and the whistle. And but he plays hard. He runs. He talks. He tries. He's just big enough to get in the way. He tries to block shots. So I thought he looked good tonight. And any minutes that he can get are going to be valuable for him. And he'll be a good player one day. Hopefully, tomorrow. But we'll see how fast that happens.
I know 5-on-5 practices will end in, I don't know, tomorrow or whatever. But have you felt his presence as a shot blocker in scrimmages compared to last year? Not you specifically, but do you see that piece that you really
Yeah, for sure. I think just being down there, it's a difference having a 7-footer, whatever he is, 7'1" down there versus when we play small, just the instincts, the reactions. Most of our tall guys are really more guard oriented, so even just their reactions to drives are different, You know, they're not as inclined to stick their nose in or step over when they don't have a chance. And sometimes you just got to be there to scare people. And he definitely has the ability to do that. And he's just got a great read, and he listens. He's attentive. He asks questions. So he's got a great energy and spirit. And I think the sky's the limit for him.
What did you make of the atmosphere for today's game? Like a preseason game for you?
No, unbelievable, man. It's blows me away every time we get a chance to come to these different places that don't get to see us as much. Edmonton was amazing. I mean, you look up to the rafters, it felt like people were hanging from the ceiling. Like, it was just electric. From the moment we checked in the hotel yesterday, rock star treatment. Hopefully we put on a good show for them, and it's just special. It shows, you know, the Raptor brand and just how big, you know, we've grown and what we mean to a lot of people and what the game means, what the team means as being Canada's team right now. So this is my first time here. It was an amazing experience, and, you know, hopefully we can come back soon.
You just heard from Fred VanVleet. Now let's talk about him, Jonsey.
Well, the guy's become a leader. He's unquestionably one of the leaders on the team. And it was interesting because at Media Day, Fred talked about it didn't end the way he wanted to because of the injury in the playoff series. And he talked about pushing himself through parts of the season when, you know, he could have rested or he could have taken that time off to heal, but he knew his team needed him. Nick Nurse has talked about how he's going to kind of lessen the load on Fred VanVleet this year. And it means that Fred won't always have the ball in his hands. As a matter of fact, Fred was one of the NBA leaders in catch and shoot. And when you look at the Raptors offense, particularly some of the actions they use to start their offense with little dribble weaves and handoffs and motion out top, there are a lot of guys on this team that can handle the ball and create. Yes, Fred is the point guard, but Pascal, OG, Scotty Barnes, all of these guys can handle the ball and create and initiate the offense. And boys, we know, Sherm, it's one of the toughest things, Savannah, you've played too, to see your point guard be responsible for keeping people happy and then at the same time finding their own. That takes that kind of load off Fred because he's not responsible for all of it, and I think they've got enough people to help him out.
Yeah, absolutely. He was one of the league leaders as well in minutes played in the NBA. So, you know, I'm sure he doesn't mind having a little bit of less wear time, I guess, throughout the course of the season because you want to peak at the right time, and that's playoffs. You want to be healthy for that. But there's some great options, as you mentioned. Talk to me, Sherm, about what those options are.
Well, we saw a little bit of Delano Banton. We saw some Malachi Flynn. And I think it's interesting and intriguing to think that these young players will be involved this season if they continue to develop and continue to progress the way Nick Nurse wants them to. Malachi's had a tough run. Delano Banton had some minutes early last season. Then he kind of got moved out of the rotation. But opportunity is there. And the way Nick Nurse plays, the interesting thing and what should be a word of caution for them is that those point guards don't have to be on the floor because Nick Nurse understands that maybe a Pascal Siakam can bring the ball up. Scotty Barnes has said he's a point guard. He can bring the ball up. OG Anunoby can bring the ball up. So with different permutations on the floor, you don't necessarily need that point guard. However, if you're a young player like Delano Banton and Malachi Flynn, you should feel the urgency to prove that you deserve to be on the floor. Delano's got that size when Nick Nurse wants to go up that big 6'7" line and bigger. And then Malachi Flynn is kind of the mold of Fred VanVleet, a smaller guard who's going to have to be very good in different ways. So there are options for Nick Nurse, but understanding ball handling responsibilities aren't what they used to be. Point guards don't necessarily always run the offense. Sometimes you use your forwards, and that's another way of relieving some of the pressure off of Fred VanVleet. So he's not pounding the ball up the floor every possession.
Hey, why have one point guard on the floor when you could have 5?
All ball handlers.
All ball handlers.
Positionless.
Positionless basketball, 6'8" length. Now, we had a rookie last year called Scotty Barnes, and he set the bar for rookie standards on this team and probably for the fan base astronomically high. So here's Christian Koloko coming in, getting drafted second round. You know, what's the expectations for him?
I think they're probably not to the same magnitude as Scotty's. Christian's coming in, and the great thing about the Raptors in terms of their development is they give you a lane to stay in early, and they start to expand that lane as you show that you can handle the responsibility. boy, to be that young and have that live a body. You watch Christian Koloko. He can run, he can jump, he's long, angular, athletic. And his responsibility will be to rebound and play defense. Not that there won't be any offense for him, but there aren't going to be a lot of plays run for him. He'll pick up stuff around the basket with his offensive rebounding and his hustle. And so I like the potential in Christian. We saw him in Summer League, which is totally different than seeing him with the big team. When he's with the big team, he doesn't have to worry about scoring. That's Fred, that's Pascal, OG, those guys have that. So when he's on the floor, he'll be on the floor for a specific reason with specific duties. And I just love the potential in this kid. A live body, and just watch him run a training camp. Reminded me of Pascal when he first came into the league. Get up and down the floor, force the other team's big to change ends. And then he's a menace around the rim, always changing shots and having people look, where is that guy? Might he get a piece of it?
Well, how honorable is that? Because there's guys who've made their career off of being a rebounder, a tough defender, and a great screener. So
Tristan Thompson,
Dennis Rodman. You could say a lot of guys. It goes back through the history books. But Sherm, we're still in preseason, and maybe we should focus on that right now, here in the moment. What are your expectations in this kind of maybe awkward at times time of year?
Yeah, preseason is a weird time of year when you're talking about, players and coaches not really showing their hand, but trying to implement some things and trying to really figure out these players on the roster, especially to the back end in training camp and preseason. I will say this, don't expect to see the main guys going out there and playing their minutes every night. Understand that you're going to see some players that you're going to get familiar with and understand that they are going to have an opportunity. So it's not going to be your typical Raptors basketball, but it is going to give you an example or understanding of what this team can be based on the main guys and the extension, as Jonsey talked about, of the depth of this roster and what can happen on the back end. But overall, preseason to me is something that you don't pay too much attention to, but you pay enough attention because you'll see some things that will lead into the regular season that Nick Nurse and the staff is going to figure out about their squad building into it. You're going to see some more minutes for some starters, but you're also going to see that taper off, and you're going to see those guys on the back end who they're trying to figure out and negotiate and navigate what their value is in this situation, whether they belong, how much they belong, or maybe they don't belong. Those decisions will come as the preseason rolls on.
Absolutely. Well, Sherm, they're going to keep it rolling in Boston. They play October 5th at 7:30 p.m. You can watch that on TSN. From myself, Savannah Hamilton, Paul Jones, Sherman Hamilton, Armando Akil, Jake, and Evan, thank you for watching. Hey, guys, we're back. Raptors Today.